Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, have you been disrespected publicly by an ex or girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, or wife? To me, that's just a big no-no. And it makes the decision to go no contact or block someone really easy. Because disrespect, if you take it, if you accept it, really what you're saying is it's okay. Really what you're saying is you can push me around. Right? And people go, oh, why did they say that? Why did they do that? I don't understand. Well, you're never going to understand how someone else operates and why they do what they do completely because you didn't live their life and don't have their experiences. But it just baffles me sometimes how many people are not aware that they have a little bit of power in the situation. But when it comes to no contact, right, it's your only option if you've been really disrespected. I mean, there's intolerable disrespect, right? And I've seen this many times before, and it's a little shocking now because what people do now is with social media and Twitter and Instagram, they throw up shots and they think they're being cool. But really, it's probably one of the weakest moves you can do. You get in a fight, you have some drama with your partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, and you go to Instagram or you go to Facebook or you go to Twitter and throw something up that's cryptic, that you're like not saying it directly about them, but everyone that knows you knows it's about them, that's done. If that ever happens to you, if there's a point where you're like, oh, should I go no contact or should I not? And you're wondering, this is one of those ones where it's like, nah, it's done. Do not. It's one of the cheapest low character moves I think that's out there now with social media. You're in a relationship with someone, you're gonna have your fights, you're gonna have your keep that in-house. You got to keep that in-house, okay? And you can go, your best friend, your brother, or your sister, you can go air out some stuff, right? Going public and making yourself out to be cool. So I had it was a story that was sent on the comments of a video. So this happens sometimes, and I always tell people it's better to send your story into writemac.com and get my take. So this individual actually did that afterwards. But have you ever had something where you were just completely disrespected by a partner? Now, tell me if you have. Put in the comments, or if you've had a situation where they went public on one of these social media platforms and made a comment or two, right? And it's so pathetic to me. Like, what you don't realize too is you're going and talking shit about someone you've been with publicly as if you're above them and better than them and you're moving on. Really, the reality is you're hurt. And you're taking shots at them, you're taking a shot at yourself publicly because this is someone you were with. Why would you do that? It's almost the equivalent of like one of your family members. Would you publicly talk shit about your mom, even if you had a problem with your mom? I just don't. Like, once this happens, and it happens a lot, right? And it happens a lot with couples in their early 20s because, like I've said, there's a framework in the early 20s. There's more selfishness. There's more impulsivity. They're being affected more by mainstream society and their viewpoints, right? But this kind of stuff, like this story I'm going to unpack real quick, these kind of comments publicly, they're like, why did they say that? You're done. You go public with our drama, our problems, and you take a shot at me, even if it wasn't direct, but I know you're taking it at me. And you went on a public platform? Who puts up with that? You can't put up with that. It's one thing to be disrespected in private or have some issues in private. That happens. It's part of relationships. Putting something on Instagram or Facebook, even if you're like, oh, I don't care, it just tells you so much about an individual's character. And the part that gets me is they're fronting. They're on Front Street. You know what that means? That means that you're lying. That you're putting up this big front like, oh, I'm cool. I don't even care. I'm good. I'm just moving on. I don't, it's like, really? What if they were abusive and you as a survivor speak out about your experience? Is that considering talking crap? I mean, when you say abusive, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and how would you speak out? Are you naming them in an Instagram post and saying like they hit me, they did this? Are you calling them out? Like, to me, that's kind of like whistleblowing. And I'm not going to sit here and decide what's good or not good. I'm curious. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, FP? So, getting back on this, like I said, this story that just came in, it's kind of hard to read because they didn't use when you send your story and edit it a little bit. I mean, use your own language, use your own style and stuff like that. It's completely fine. But bottom line is, getting disrespected on any of these platforms, like I said, it's just a huge, you're done. It's over. Because they're going to do that again. And it's like, when you're boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, or wife, or you're in a relationship, that's one of the covenants that you have. Yeah, you might, like I said, you might air it out to a couple of friends, but like, our trust is in our communication, what we talk about in private, right? I think telling mutual friends is okay. Okay? If you're going to go there and just tell some one-sided story to his best friend, good luck. Are you going to go to his, okay, what's the objective? Going on Twitter? Now, if he's some predatorial person where you're like I said, you're blowing the whistle, you're calling this person out because, for example, I'll give you an example. This is a good example. Okay? I've got a friend that was owed money. This guy, basically, kind of a con, right? He was getting money. He how's this go? I'll just say this. There was a service being offered, and the other guy didn't come through. So he owed my friend like $800. And the guy just stopped responding to my friend. And my friend knew he was still in the same city and same town and knew some of his relatives on Facebook. So he went straight to Facebook and he aired out the whole story and said this individual owed him $800, and he kept putting it on the guy's Facebook, right? Guess what? The guy contacted him and said, please take that down. Please take it down. He's like, I'm not taking it down until you pay me my $800. You scammed me. You sold me on something that you didn't come through on. You stopped contacting me. He ended up paying him back. But to me, that's like whistleblowing. That's like saying, hey, let me air this out to everyone else so they don't get the same consequences. Getting in a fight with your partner over your breakup and then going to the airways and calling her a hoe, or saying like, oh, I done everything with that woman, and making yourself look big. What? That's what I'm talking about here. Right? And I've known other people where they fight a lot. And to me, if you're fighting a lot and there's big fights and there's big arguments and then you go to Facebook to air it out, but you stay together. I've seen this before, that you stay together. It's like, what is this? And you're also only given one side of the story. And you're opening it up for the peanut gallery. You're opening it up for everyone to make a comment on your relationship and how deep it is, and you might be shocked by what someone says. So I'm just saying, talk to friends, but going public, putting out a billboard on social media and saying that you're better now, you're without them, or taking some shots at them, if that happens to you, you're done. That's non-negotiable. That's a seriously low character thing, right? It's low morals, it's low values. It's beyond hurtful, and then you're trying to negotiate that. And like I said, even if it's cryptic. All right, so let me get into this first story that was sent in. And if you got a story you want to send it into rightmac.com. FP's on deck. Riflint, how you doing? I will get to the comments. And actually, I'll start with the comments real quick. Let me catch up on them, and then we'll get to the stories here. So, Rob, how you doing? Petty Betty, Rob IS. Either that or go social media and mention how they hooked up with others, showing party situations where they could potentially hook up. Sometimes they don't publicly talk. They just post a photo that is suggestive. That's what I mean. It's cryptic. I once saw something where some girl broke up with a guy and the next day posted a photo of a sign with directions to a nude beach. I mean, so she looks at it like, oh, this is going to hurt him. I mean, but what does it say about you? Do you know what I mean? This is someone that you cared about, and now in one day you're going to go publicly into revenge mode? It's cheap. My ex-partner did this to me about 15 years ago, hacked my Facebook and told all my friends I was a stripper when I'm not. That's completely... See, that's one of those things, Rye Flint, you're done, right? No contact, no nothing. Like what? Like, to me, when a person goes that place, they got to be really hurt, revengeful, and it's one thing that you want some validate, like to go public like that. Were you done after he did that? I mean, what was your reaction to that? I'm just curious. He hacks into your Facebook and tells everyone you're a stripper. And by the way, it's like, oh, you got me, right? And what if you were? It's like, I know some people that do that moonlighting that are women that make a lot of money and do really well and are really good people, to be quite frank. And they're like, actually, you know what? I forgot I was erotic dancer or something like that. I had a client like that, like broke down to me, was so embarrassed. I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Do you make good money? Are you able to take good vacations? Create boundaries where you're comfortable with it? You've done it for years. You get to travel to different cities. I'm not going to judge you for that. It's probably going to affect you finding a long-term partner. Just know that what the trade-off is. It's not a long-term game. FP says, what if they were abusive and you... Okay, so you were elaborating on that. Some guys will put up with a certain situation. It's kind of fall the place of, I want what I can't have, so I entice the guy to push forward with pursuit in some cases. Telling mutual friends, I guess, being open about that to prevent it from happening to someone else. I suppose, but if you get, my take on that is if you get physical abuse, you should immediately contact the police, file a report, go to a family member, get some support, and that should be your first step. That's what I would say. And get away from it. Don't negotiate it. They stay together. LOL. Some people enjoy the mutual abuse. It speaks some sort of inner inferiority complex on it. That's a great point, Rob. I would say that this one example I was telling you about, I was like, they've done it multiple times, and they owned and managed a restaurant bar. So they had these regulars that would all know their stuff from Facebook because they would post things. And then they'd be like, oh, did you hear about so-and-so and so-and-so? And I was like, damn, they air everything out. It's almost, looking back, maybe it was a good way to get publicity because that's what they do in hip-hop. Like, I've read books on that they actually staged a lot of these beefs. 50 Cent, the 50th Rule with Robert Greene, basically says it's just a way to promote records, well, if you even call them records anymore. But, yeah, it gets attention. True. Complaining, telling everyone your business just to stay in the relationship is lame, embarrassing. I was done, reported him to the police to give him back my account. We never spoke again. Good for you. That's just, and the thing is, how stupid do you feel after? Like, oh yeah, how old was the guy? How old were you when he did that? It's just, you know what I mean? That's the kind of thing it could enter your mind, right? You're hurt, you're upset. I always say this, you want people to feel what you feel. So you're hurt, you're upset, I want to hurt him. Ooh, that would get him. That would kneecap him. That goes for the rib cage, right? But then you think to yourself, cooler minds prevail. You take a step back and you're like, I'm not going to do that. You actually do that kind of stuff? Psst. Like I said, it's done. They're actually doing you a favor because you go, crystal clear now, I don't want any part of you. Your character is you can't come back from that. You can't come back from that. There's no, oh, I'm sorry, I hacked into your Facebook and I told everyone that you're a stripper. Really? Well, that was playful and fun. You see that with couples that break up 10, 20 times or so and engage in abuse only to get back together like nothing happened and then repeat. Well, I always tell people, if you're in a pattern where breakup to makeup, it's going to keep going, but someone will be left holding you back because eventually someone will go, I don't want to do this anymore. And the other person goes, hey, we stopped playing that game? What did I miss? I get them in breakups. Sometimes they're like, I'm like, so you broke up to me. And everyone always thinks we're going to get back together. But then someone goes, I'm tired of this. And the other person goes, wait, this isn't how we operate. And one person usually develops if I don't get my way, I want to win, I'll break up with you. And the other person goes, don't break up with me. Don't break up with me. And that's their way of just getting their way. It's really bad communication. It's highly immature. All right, so let's get into the first story. We got 7 on deck. Thanks for the likes. If you want to make a donation or whatever it is, throw it in there. If you have any comments, let's get this thing spirited. All right, so, well, I know this guy 3 months ago, and we were dating each other. He was the best guy and the best boyfriend he ever made me so happy overall. He stands by my side at the lowest, and he was treating me so good. However, so let's just keep in mind it's only been 3 months. So whenever you have a relationship that's only 3 months and it's complete fireworks, excitement, rose petals and wine glasses, it's a sample size, okay? It should be like that, but it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever because you still don't really know the person yet. 3 months, still a discovery mission, okay? We fought a lot and we ghosted each other for a while, but then came back telling me he still wants me, and we were good after it for 1 month. But then suddenly everything changed when he told me I need space for a while. All right, so he stands by my side at the lowest point. He's treating me so good. However, we fought a lot. So on the one hand, you're saying this is a great relationship, but we also fought a lot. If you fight a lot in the first 3 months, it's not a good relationship. You should be getting to know each other. This is the honeymoon phase. This is not a good sign. What were you fighting about? When you write your story like this, if you could tell me what the fights were over specifically, we can get a little deeper and I can help you a little bit more. We ghosted each other. So both of you aren't good with communication in the sense that, hey, let's come to an agreement or a common ground. Both of you go, let me just ghost you. Ghosting is for when negotiations are off and you're never going to agree. Okay? Ghosting isn't a way to win a petty fight. All right? But if you are both ghosting each other, then it seems like, no one's taking direction in the relationship. There's always going to be someone that rules the relationship a little bit more. I know everyone wants to be equal, but correct me if I'm not in the comments. Have you ever been in a relationship that's completely 50-50? Someone's making more decisions about financial, someone's making more decisions about where you live or what you do. Like, it's never completely equal. But if both sides are like, nah, I'm not gonna give in on anything, your relationship will never work. Well, but we came back telling me he still wants me, and we were good after it for 1 month. But then suddenly everything changed when I told him I need space for a while and I'll be back. So again, so you write your story. What did you need space for? You go to someone, you're 3 months in, you're like, I need space. Why did you need space specifically? Reasons count. So I need space for a while. I'll be back. And he was like supporting me. He told me no need for taking a pause from social media. I'm here. He was totally fine. Nothing weird. But when I came back after a week, he changed. All right, so why do you think it's okay? You're 3 months into a relationship. You say, I need space. I'll be back. And that person's just going to sit and wait and go, yeah, okay, just take your time and I'll be fine. But then I came back after a week. He changed. I literally found someone else, like, just woke up and everything turns back. I asked him, what's wrong? He told me nothing. And I asked him, why are you so cold to me? He told me, look, let's just be friends. And I was like, what the F? He told me, I just don't want to do that again. I don't want to be attached to anyone anymore. I said, why is that? So this is really good you wrote this out. You scared him. You're in a relationship. You tell him, hey, I just need space. He's all in. He feels like you're going to do this again. and you feel like, well, I just needed a little bit of space and I'd be back. Highly selfish. And you're not even thinking, did you think how that would affect him? So when you're like, oh, when I got back with him, he was like a different person. So he's just supposed to sit on the sidelines and go, when you're ready to put me back in, coach, I'll be ready. Ridiculous. You're 3 months in, you're asking for a break. You've had ups and downs. You fought a lot. And he's saying when that happened, he didn't want to deal with that again. Because when you say you want space, and you don't have a finish line, like in a week, space does not translate to we're going to get back together. Saying like, I'll be back with you, it's not guaranteed for you. You think you have control of the relationship. The other person's going, I don't want to play that. I was shocked. He didn't tell me clear reason, but after asking him a lot, he told me, I used to have a problem with my family and friends thinking I will get out of it, but I still think about my troubles and I think I'm sick in my head. I swear I told him, did you find someone else? So this is very confusing how she wrote this. Right? Bottom line, this is not a good relationship. You guys are both not ready for a serious relationship. You're fighting a lot in the first 3 months. Your communication isn't good. You feel like you could take a break when you want and he'll just sit and wait for you and everything will be dandy. That's most guys wouldn't sit around and wait, so don't be surprised. Okay? Tell me the truth, but don't break my heart. All right. Well, sometimes the truth will break your heart. But you said you needed space. In the meantime, he might have met someone. I would say he has a right to meet someone else when you say you want space. That's just my opinion. Okay? He said, I swear no, you know that I don't want to know anyone anymore. I get mad and told him, so you're breaking up with me? He told me, come on, it's not a breakup. We're still together, but not like boyfriend and girlfriend, just friends. I don't want to lose you, and I don't want you to leave. I told him I'm leaving. He was like, please don't leave me. I asked him if I was a game. To be honest, you're the one that's playing more of a game, just in my opinion. And the impulsivity in this relationship just isn't good. He's saying, oh, I want to break up with you, but I still want to be friends, and we're still together. Translation, I want my cake and eat it too. I still want to hook up, but I still want the freedom to be free. This is what happens. Sometimes when you break up, someone goes, damn, this is great. We can still see each other. Guys love this. Younger guys love this. Guys in their 20s, they love this. They go, hey, yeah, let's just break up. It's not working out. But in the back of their head, like, let's keep seeing each other because we're really good together. But I want that option to see other people and not feel guilty. And you're like, no, that can't happen. What's happened in the first 3 months is going to happen in the next 3 months, the next 4 months. And you guys can play this game where you go back and forth. And he's not necessarily just playing a game. You're both playing a game, right? You're just not ready for a serious relationship. And what a serious relationship regards, good communication, honesty, and not taking breaks in the first 3 months, working through things. What are you taking a break from? He told me, you are my everything in my home, and I still love you. I swear, don't hate, please, and stay with me, sweetheart. But I told him I'm leaving and we're done. Just forget me and I wish you happiness. Highly dramatic, very Hollywood. And the reason you're doing that when you say just forget me and I wish you all this happiness, what you're doing is you're trying to create a scenario where he goes, don't go, Rose. Okay, Jack, on the Titanic, right? Don't go. You don't even realize if there was a camera on you when you're doing this, everyone would go, wow, this is the drama scene, right? The real thing is you're writing this story out because you still want to be with him and you still have feelings, but you're the one playing a game by going, forget me, I wish you happiness. Well, you should be going, hey, what's our problem here? Like, what's the problem here? You're being highly emotional. What's the problem here? What's the real problem? I took a break. You're upset about that. You feel what? He told me, do you think it's easy for me to forget you? I don't want happiness. I just want you, just you. I left the scene and then I sent him a goodbye message. Then I blocked him on my Instagram account, but I have another private account. So I unfollowed him, but kept him following me, and he keeps seeing my stories there. Then I found him sharing a quote in his story. And this is a classic, folks. This is, are you ready for this quote that she found? Always put a little hoe in your pocket just in case a shoddy didn't act right. Are you done after that? Always put a little hoe in your pocket just in case a shoddy didn't act right. So, I mean, what does that translate to? She writes, please tell me what to do. Should I unblock him or should I block him in the second account too? Please, please. I miss him. I love him so much and I regret. Well, here's the thing. You miss him, you love him so much, but in the end, you're like, I'm never going to talk to you again. I wish, I wish you happiness. This is what happens in young relationships, right? They watched a lot of movies. And in order to get their way, just like a little kid will go straight for crying to get a toy, right? You went straight for like, you'll never see me again. Instead of talking about, hey, I want to make this relationship work. I want to, like, what's going on? What's the issue? You went straight for the kneecaps, like, I'm going to break up with you. You'll never talk to me again. And then he's like, well, I don't never want to talk to you again. But you're like, oh, but I'm done. And it's like, and now you're like, oh, I love him so much. Why didn't you say, hey, I love you so much, I want to make this work, rather than I'll never talk to you again, I wish you all the happiness? Why did you go that route is my question. I miss him. I love him so much. I regret for blocking him. I want him back. I should. Should I apply the no contact rule? You pretty much, this was like a mutual breakup. But once you read that quote, always put a little hoe in your pocket just in case a shoddy didn't act right. I mean, isn't he publicly saying that you're not a big deal? Whether that's true or not. I mean, what are you going to do with that? In your case, I can see this guy contacting you back. I could see you guys getting back for a minute, for a week, for a month. But this isn't going to be a monogamous relationship. It's not built on honesty. It's fractured all over the place. But you got feelings for him? Yeah, you might get back together. Maybe he misses you and contacts you. You can unblock him, block him. But work on getting honest in your communication, right? And how are you going to get over this quote that he just threw on Instagram? I mean, are you going to get back with him and say, like, that's cool, no big deal, right? That's okay. I mean, did you take that personal that he's calling you that? Always put a little hoe in your pocket just in case a shoddy didn't act right. Okay. I'm afraid if he's going to forget me and understand the blocking message is like shutting the door in his face, well, I meant that I'm upset and broke. All right, so let me give you a few different options here. Okay? Number one, it was kind of this mutual breakup, so you don't need to go full no contact, right? If you really want to get back together. I highly recommend that this isn't a good relationship for you to get back together, because the way it started is the way it's going to continue. And it's, you said, and once he treated me so good, but we fought a lot. Okay, we ghosted each other for a while. I needed space. All this in 3 months. This is not a good relationship. So what are you chasing? Right? And if you're the one that told him, wish you a good life, happy, you walked out like you're done, but now you're regretting it. So at some point, you have to let him know that I do want to work on this and get back together. So you have to be honest. You said, tell me the truth, but don't break my heart. You have all these little conditions involved. So, number one, break no contact, unblock him, and say, hey, I want to talk. And in that conversation, be honest and upfront with your feelings. Quit playing this game where you're trying to hurt him to try to make him overcompensate to come back to you. It's not working. I'm not guaranteeing that work. Number two, stay in no contact because the quote he wrote and the fact that you don't trust him and you needed space in the first place, and this relationship isn't really that good. You need some more time to decide things, right? Those are your two options. But right now, you're hurt, you're lonely, you're upset because you didn't get your way. And you kind of probably thought this was going to go in a different direction because maybe you had a past relationship where someone chased you. This is what happens too. Like someone breaks up and they're used to getting chased, and it happened in a previous relationship. So in their current relationship, they're like, oh, why isn't this person chasing me? Different person, different situation, right? All right. So let me get to the comments. And basically, I took a few YouTube comments from other videos that I'm going to address here after this story. But I'll get to touch base with the people in the live stream here. What's up, Sabina? Highly dramatic, but does he really mean it? He's definitely sleeping with other girls, FP says. Possibly. Sounds like a like from an Usher song. It's shoddy, and yeah, they do. Do people even use the term They think real life is like The Notebook. In my country, they do not use the term shoddy. So, bottom line is, like I said earlier, someone goes public on Instagram and makes a comment post-breakup that cryptically is about you, it's offensive, it's messed up, and you're like, oh, maybe I should reach out. I can't believe they're going there. It's like that kind of communication and that kind of back and forth, it's not going away. It's not going away. All right. We got 14 on deck. If any of you have anything that you want me to answer about your breakup, some kind of limited belief, what's going on in your life, put it in the live stream comments. If you like this live stream so far, throw it a like. If you don't, that's good. Have an opinion and don't like it. I don't care. All right, so Thrills and Chills wrote this comment yesterday. He said, hey, don't know if you want to do a video on it, but dated my ex for 9 months, left for basic training for the summer. So I'm assuming that's the military. I don't like to assume many things, but I would say that's what basic training is. I feel that she was growing attraction for a coworker while I was gone for 10 weeks. She wrote me 2 to 3 times a week, all love notes, but then dumped me a week before getting back. All right, so I've had a lot of clients that are military and even career military. What I mean by that, like they're in their 30s and they've been in the military 15, 20 years. They always have a lot of problems in relationships. And they don't have a problem attracting women. Women like a man in uniform. Women like a guy that's in good shape. Military usually supplies that. They usually have good discipline. They're usually leaders. They usually have confidence. The one thing they don't have is the ability to stay in one place for too long. They usually get stationed somewhere else for long periods of time, and it directly affects relationships. So if you're gone for 10 weeks, right? And especially if you're in your early 20s, if you're like 21, 22, 23, and it was rose petals and wine glasses, she's head over heels. Some women aren't up for it. Some people are not up for going on a dry spell, literally, for 10 weeks. That's not your fault. And by the way, if you've never done it before, or she's never done it before, you're at the airport and you're like, I'm going to write you every day. We'll text every day. Oh my God. Oh my God. And then a week goes by, and then 2 weeks go by, and the other individual sees someone that's attractive. Human nature happens, and they start to kind of come down from it. And you think, wow, she's not loyal. She's not this. Not everyone's up for long distance. Now, the good thing is 10 weeks, there's a finish line. Like in 10 weeks is pretty long, dude. What's that, like 2.5 months? So this isn't necessarily personal. This is timing and circumstances. This is you not realizing that it's possible to stay together through this, but it's harder. It's more likely than not, depending on where she lives, that she will be interested in someone else because there's a void, right? Intimacy can't be remade. Especially if you're in basic training, you probably don't even have enough time to, get video calls. She wrote me 2 or 3 times a week, all love notes, but then dumped me a week before getting back. She was partying a lot and mentioned guys from work trying to invite her over for poker night. No pun intended. I'm just shocked, but I'm giving her the break. We see each other every week because of class, and I keep conversation, if any, only work related. No contact right now. She does act like things are fine. Well, I mean, this is why send in your story and give me more details, and I'll give you a more tailored response. Like, how old are you? Where are you working? What happened before this? There's all kinds of things. But you dated for 9 months. 9 months is not that long. It's not that long. People, when you're like, they shocked me. It's like you didn't know them that well. You're just together with someone 5 years. You kind of get a baseline on them. The problem is, and I say this all the time, people between 20 and 26, 27, they change. They get a new job. They move to a new community. They get new friends. This is a big one. They start watching new content online. They change. Now, you go out of town, you're like, I'm in basic training. She should understand. We were great. We had great intimacy. Yeah, but there's a void there. And here's the difference. Whenever you go long distance in any kind of situation, what's your environment going to be long distance, and what's their environment going to be long distance? Now, if someone's in a city like San Diego, where I've lived before, and you're 20 to 30 age range, and there's 3 major universities, right? There's a lot of young people in town. It's a great place to be single and mingle. Then that person that you left, like let's say they're in San Diego, and you're in basic training where you're with all men. Excuse me. Let me correct that. Not all men. Majority men. There's females in the military now. Excuse me. Right. Majority all men. You're in an atmosphere where you're probably not going to hook up or be looking for something else. It's possible, but it's not going to be as fruitful or abundant as the environment she's in. So you're sitting there going, wow, this guy at work that she was interested in. Let's reverse this. Let's say your girlfriend goes to basic training for 10 weeks. And you leave, and you guys at the airport, you're making out, and it's a scene from a movie, right? You're all in. Both of you are outstandingly in love, and you're 22 years old, 21 years old, right? Oh my God, I'll contact you every day. Let's just reverse the shoes. And let's say that you work at a law firm that's a big law firm, and there's 2 secretaries there that are knockout gorgeous, and they flirt with you. One of them becomes single and starts putting the moves on you, knowing that your girlfriend's in basic training and out of town. Would you just be able to be like stiff arm? Like, no, I'm going to wait for my girlfriend for 10 weeks. She's in basic training. I'm not going to pursue this too much. Think about it. So if your environment was switched where you had women inviting you over for a poker night that you were attracted to. Now, women on the flip side, sometimes they just like the attention. Maybe the guy that invited her over for a poker night, she's not even attracted to, but she just throws it out there. My point is, right? Long distance. Look at both the environments you're going to be in, right? Someone moves to New York City and you're in Oklahoma. Who's going to probably bail on the relationship first? Probably the one in New York, because they have, millions of people, and you're living in Timbuktu, Oklahoma, with a population of 100. You're in basic training. Your mind's on another purpose than getting action or cheating. You have a purpose every day. You have a system. You have a more than a 9 to 5, right? You're in training. Where she's like, oh, let me just go out and have fun. It's not going to work. Now, you can blame her. You can be upset about it. But look at the situation and say, that wasn't personal, because it sounds like this probably wouldn't happen, thrills and chills, if you weren't going 10 weeks basic training. Now, here's the thing. You can't take back time. It's not Michael J. Fox, and it's not Back to the Future. So you can't go back. And now, even if you got back with this woman and you're like, I'm in no contact right now, I keep conversation only related, you'll never trust her. You're not going to trust her anytime soon. And if you got back together, most guys, they hook up. The next morning, they're like, did you hook up with someone else while we were broken up? They can't resist. They can't resist. Guys are like the dog that pees on the fire hydrant. It's like, that's mine, right? They can't resist. And then the girl feels guilty. She doesn't want to tell him. The guy presses. He presses. And then finally she goes, yeah, I hooked up with John, the guy that allowed me over for poker night. We ended up, having strip poker. And sorry. And then she starts giving more details. And the guy's like this, stop. and then he's done. And so that's why, like, you're in basic training, you got some confidence, you got a purpose going in life, you're doing well. You were only with her for 9 months. If you stay in no contact, you'll get over it. Okay? But you're probably not going to forgive her or trust her again. And I'd say if you're in basic training, you're going to have to leave again for some other kind of thing with the military. Am I correct or not correct? If you want more information or a little bit more feedback, then send your story into writemac.com. We'll do a coaching session. All coaching sessions are refundable if you don't find them helpful and useful. Just had someone on Instagram. How is this going to help me grow? It's like, I don't know how it's going to help you grow, but I got a lot of repeat clients that come back to me. I've been doing this for 4.5, almost 5 years. I'm good at what I do. I do my best to help you, and I'll refund you if it's not useful and helpful for you moving forward. Because the biggest thing is post-breakup, clarity. Perception versus perspective. These are the biggest things. Your perspective is, man, she dumped me a week before I was getting back. My perspective is, you were gone 10 weeks in an environment you probably weren't going to cheat in. She was without you for 10 weeks in an environment that was more abundant to do more cheating. Perspective. Now you cannot take that personal, and you can kind of look at it from a different direction, and maybe that'll help you understand it so you can move forward. But if that didn't help, like I said, book a session. Let's get into it a little deeper. Maybe a lot of times people will tell me, I didn't tell you this part. I didn't tell you that part. Okay. Tell me. Let's talk about it. All right. So this was just a comment about the live stream yesterday. Good video, good topics, Sloan Magnum. Good video, good topics. Towards the end, when you were talking about where to meet people, I think that coincides with the value of men and women depending on where they're at. Like you mentioned in a previous video, if you're a man making less money than a majority of the women in the area, but you offer more of everything else, then those women will be attracted to you. If the men in the area have more money, but offer little of anything else as far as who they are as a person, including looks and yes, sex. So Sloan Magnum, I'm not sure if that's a female or a male, that name. Sloan I know as a woman's name, but I could be wrong. But let's think about that for a minute. I talked about this yesterday because this is a big topic on YouTube that especially in all of America, that all these women, all they're about is money. And if you don't make 100 grand, you're out of the game. If you don't make 100 grand, this is a big thing right now. If you don't make enough money, you don't make enough money, you don't make enough money. And I'm with you. It's how you get measured a lot of times. In countries and areas where money's big and inflation's high and things are expensive, yeah. Women are going to be attracted to that more. That being said, if a woman's rich already, which there's a lot of rich women out there, right? If a woman's rich already, she's completely capable of going, it's fine if you don't have money, I'll take care of you, but I'm going to rule the roost and I'm going to call the shots. And guess what? You better look good. People that have money like shiny objects. They like to show off. Not all of them, but a lot of them, right? Someone that has a Ferrari wants someone extremely good looking. Okay, they're not going to settle because they like it. It's an ego thing, which is fine. Now, what I mean like this, we were talking yesterday, the great Rick C., he lives in San Diego. I've lived in San Diego before. There's a very big community of people that are highly wealthy there. Excellent beaches, fantastic weather. So people that have money want to live in those kind of locations, right? So you're thinking like, well, I'm an average guy that makes average money and I can't compete with these guys that make so much money. But here's the thing. If you're in those places and you're good looking or fairly good shape, these are the three that I would say that you can cultivate outside of having money or four. Number one, good looking or in good shape. All right. And looks, I've said this many times. Who I think's good looking and who you think's good looking, there's going to be a wide spectrum. So looks, these people online are, oh, that's a 10. That's a 10. I could look at it and go, I'd say that's a 5. Right? And it's never been more like this. Number two, good sense of humor. Good sense of humor goes a long way in attraction, right? Number three, sex. Good in the bedroom. No one ever talks about this. Guys never talk about this. I've had this on a live stream a while back. This lady was talking about, or, I'm sorry, some guy was complaining about an ex. I can't believe she left me. This guy that she's with is a loser. He's broke. He's an ex-convict. ... And then the woman in the stream just went, yeah, but he's got the D. And I thought to myself, guys never think about that. That a guy can get a woman with good intimacy. There's a client of mine right now that he studies this stuff. Like, he's way into it. He's nerded out on it. He's like, oh, this woman I was with, she's never come so many times, right? This isn't something that's talked about on the guy's end. It's like, oh, all she wants is money. It's like, if you guys hook up and you're fantastic in bed, do you think that would go beyond the money? Possibly. Possibly. Right? So it was interesting what was said. Like, this is a topic that's going to come up again and again. I understand the argument. The problem is everyone keeps filtering. Oh, all these women are just about money. All these women are just about... It's like, really? In a 300 million plus country, all of them are? Where are you hanging out? Where are you hanging out? What content do you listen to that makes you think this? It's like yesterday, Rick said, I'm like, where are these women that wants to know how much you make? 2 of them were on Instagram. All right, well... I mean, go to charities, volunteer, get involved with your church, yoga, the gym, classes, ceramics, art, whatever. Do some things that are kind of different than the club or the bar or Instagram. All right, let me get into the comments really quick. If one guy knows what to say, the guy receiving the love notes will be out ASAP. If he acts a certain way that repels attraction. No one saw it coming. Rob says, LL. Nah, I know that was half a joke, but the reality is there's plenty of times when people know it's coming, and it's still not fun. But I would say when you don't know it's coming and you're all in, it's like getting hit at an intersection and waking up in the hospital, which, knock on wood's never happened to me. Basic training, great intimacy will always follow the man who provides elements of higher attraction, especially if that basic training guy falls into a beta mindset. I think that, Rob, I just think that whenever you put yourself in a situation, right? And here's the thing about a military guy. He has a lot of things, right? Generally in good shape, has a purpose, respected, has some significance, has some drive, has some ambition generally, right? Rarely in bad shape, rarely of low confidence. But when you got to duck out of town and go on a mission and you're like, oh, my woman should just wait 10 weeks. Yeah, that sounds good on paper or in a movie. But if they're of a certain age or a certain dynamic, they like intimacy too. And if they're pretty good looking and they get attention, a lot of times, more times than not, they're going to stray. Just like a cat if you left the door open. They're going to stray. What's your take on marriage in the West now? Bo G. Is that how I say it? Bo G. Was a huge fan of Bo Jackson. I was starting to date a religious gal, but broke up because I didn't want to convert to her religion. I'm not religious, but her values were fantastic. Well, there's a dilemma. There's a trade-off, isn't it? Good question. My take on marriage in the West now. First, Bo, if you don't know me, full disclosure, I've lived in Thailand for almost 11 years, most of the last 11 years. So I'm not in the West. I'm in the Southeast Asia. So it's a little different climate here. That being said, born and raised in California, had a few relationships over there. I go back every year. I was just home for 6 months. My take on it is way too much generalizations. Right now, the internet, the way you get views, the way you get clicks is you polarize things and you use no nuance. What do I mean by that? Great example. Andrew Tate, spectacular speaker, intelligent guy. Right? He's going to take everything extreme and he removes all nuance. I heard him talk about this in an interview too. He's like, he was at the end of the interview, he was kind of laughing about it. He goes, you just take all nuance out. So for example, all women are about money right now. All women want is a guy over 6 feet and they want $100,000, throwing out numbers. That's all they want right now. That's all they're looking for. All the women in the West, they're brainwashed. They don't know what they're looking for. They're not going to find it, and they actually think they're better looking than they are. And there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those. And where did that come from? Where did that come from? Would be my first question. So someone starts saying, oh, the women are like this. Where did that come from? Content. The content that's being consumed by culture in Western world. That it just didn't fall out of the sky that they're like this. Now, that being said, is there no good women with good morals and values? You just hit it on the head, Boji. I'm not religious either. I don't want to convert to another religion, but I would say there's a lot of religions that have a lot of good morals and values to them. It's usually the gurus or the guys that tell you what the book actually means that are the problems. It's not the actual morals and stories of the book, right? That being said, yeah, I wouldn't want to convert into a religion I don't want to be in, but she had fantastic values. You just proved to yourself, hey, I don't want to convert, but I found a woman that has great values, so they're out there. But if you get involved in this whirlwind on YouTube where it's like all women are like this, all women are like this, hypergamy is true. Women are going to date equal or up, and if you don't stay at their level or up, they're going to probably stray. That's true. That being said, there's plenty of women out there that have good values. Now, what most of these guys aren't doing is identifying where are they meeting the bad ones and where are they meeting good ones. It's like Fresh and Fit. The show's really popular. People love getting on this. It's like a Jerry Springer of YouTube. It's entertaining. But isn't there a typecast of women they're putting on the show? Is that representation of the women they put on that show that are all drinking from a solo red cup and have a pound of makeup on and have low cut tops? Do they speak for every woman in the Western world in their 20s to 30s? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's an insult to my intelligence. Now, if you really put your head to it and you're like, look, I know the law of averages are against me because Western women are brainwashed by a lot of this content, but I bet I could find some good ones. Where would I look? What are the environments I would look in? Now, if you start filtering for the good ones instead of start complaining about all the bad ones, you might get some results. If you're going to go fishing and you want big fish, where are the lakes where the big fish are? Wow. Might take some more work to get to those lakes, right? People just keep complaining about this, and it's not true. There's 370 million plus people in America. That's not even the whole Western world. It's like all the women are ruined? Come on. Now, if you want to get into the part about marriage and if you get married, the court system and what you have to lose, yeah, you better be protective of that. I agree. Depending on your state and the rules and regulations, get a prenup. Depending on how much you have to lose or not have to lose. And if they were like, no, I don't want to do that, then there's a problem. But here's the thing that people don't realize. There's a solution to every problem. You might not like the solution, but it's better than complaining about the problem all the time. But you know what? On YouTube and different things like this, people love to go on about the problem because they're fucking lazy. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's why I don't get chicks. Because all the Western women are screwed up. That's why I don't get chicks. It's like, well, maybe you're the one with an inflated idea of how great you are. Like there's some dudes that have huge YouTube followings and they talk about women, this or that. And I'm like, if this guy was in the dating scene or you put him, in a lineup, how well is he actually going to do? I mean, is there a reason he's this bitter? Right? Because to me, it's like, it's like, do you even have a chance beyond, oh, women are like this. They make all these jokes, they make all these things, and they go on and on and on. It's like, but let's be honest, dude. Do you have a shot with most of the women you're complaining about? Right? Outside of maybe your fame on a YouTube channel or something. That sometimes consider the source. Right? Consider the source. Well, what religion was it, Bo, if I may ask, if that's not too personal? Sabina, change religion for some girl? Yeah, right. I mean, it's something, if they have fantastic values, it's something to consider. But if it's against your will and it's a no-no for you, fine. But what I like about that is you met someone with great values. That's a nice positive. Well, I know a girl that changed her religion for a boy at college after 15 years and 2 kids, still happily married. Well, there you go. Bo, I agree. I would have married her, which is enough of a risk these days. Changing something so fundamental for the rest of my life was too much, regardless of how great the relationship was. And you know what, Bo? That's a choice for you to make as an individual, and I'm fine with it. But I like the fact that you're like, she had fantastic morals and values. And you know what? Prove that you can find another one of those. Don't sit out there and just go, oh, yeah, I don't even think that Bo said that she's mega religious. Coach Mac has some refreshing views. I'm digging the live streams. Right on, Bo. Maybe you are idealizing the person. That Tate guy has serious issues, mental health issues. I wouldn't say he has serious issues or mental health issues. I think he's extremely intelligent and strategic. And he knows that getting attention means you need to be salacious. And I would venture to say some of the extreme views he's giving, it's on purpose. It's almost like a comedian. And it's a way to communicate. Tony Robbins does the same thing. He uses an extreme case. Like we had Tony Robbins on the live stream yesterday in a reaction video, not live. We had him on the thing, and he's using all these extreme. When I was a kid, I never share this with anyone, but when I was a kid, I had soap poured down my throat by my mom. I had soap. I had that happen. My mom hit me. I don't like telling people that. It's like I've heard him say that in interviews 15 times. Right? Why does he do that? It's extreme. It grabs your attention. He wouldn't say, oh, yeah, you know, my mom grounded me a couple of times. That's not interesting. That's not a great story. It's like I got smacked. Right? My mom slapped the hell. It's like, by the way, mom might have a different story. I didn't put soap down your throat. Come on. So my point is what Tate does, it's kind of like Trump. They use these extreme examples and they take out nuance. So they'll take a point of view like men can't be friends with women. I did a reaction video of this. Men can't be friends with women. And the woman's like, why can't they be friends? Why can't we be friends? He's like, if I'm in the Ukraine and there's a bomb and I'm facing an AK-47, I want my boys with me. I can't be friends with women. Extreme example with no nuance. So then there's no, well, there could be a woman that's, you know, a Navy SEAL, right? If you're going to go there's some women that are militarily trained, right? And he'd go, oh, no, that's crazy. So he's just going extreme to extreme, and it's a form of marketing, really, is what it is. He tries to use extreme angle for the sensational. Exactly. And the funny thing is, even Pat Bev David, what's his name? Pat Bev David, right? That guy, now he does a lot of sensational stuff. Before he was like interviewing famous people, he was into, like, he's gotten to a point where he was like, let me jump on this. It's like any way I can make money and get views. Kind of disappointing. It was great to meet a gal that has great values. The ladies in the West definitely aren't as screwed up as you might think by watching some of these podcasts. You hit the nail on the head. Where you do meet these good ones, not one fresh and fit, most likely. She's a Muslim. Now, some people are going to go, whoa. I actually live in a community that has a lot of Muslims where I live. Great people, in my view. There's good people and bad people and everything. And, you know, that wasn't for you, but that you could see good morals and values there and be okay with that. Great for you, Boji. BG is what I'll call you. Rob saw about 2-minute max of his content 3 weeks ago, and I was... throwing up by his personality. Yeah, he's polarizing. Polarizing means you either like him or you hate him, and those kind of people get a lot of media. Not in Fresh and Fit. Spot on, Mac. Thanks, Riflin. I appreciate you. It's just, I'm with you because when I go home, I see what you're talking about. The big fake nails, the over-the-top makeup, like taking pictures every other 10 minutes in the you know, in the coffee shop, whatever. They seem pretentious, but that doesn't represent all women. No way. And the fact that these guys bring those kind of women on there, and they I'm sorry, with Fresh and Fit, both of those guys are recovering nerds. They weren't who they are now. Like, you could just tell they weren't the cool kids in school. Especially one of them. Like, he stutters. I shouldn't get personal now, but it's just like, but people love that stuff. It's a Jerry Springer of YouTube, right? But there's nothing. The way I look at it, that dude's like, oh yeah, let me teach you game. Let me teach you how to hook up with women. And you're telling me those are the ones you hook up with? It's like teaching me how to fish for carp. They're not good eating. Bo, there are a few Islam approaches. Hope wasn't the most extreme. There's more than a few. But you know what, Bo? That's great to share something like that, because you could appreciate the morals and values she was raised with, but you didn't want to go all in with something that you weren't completely behind. And that takes a lot of courage. That's a tough decision you made, bud. But just like I said, you proved to yourself that you could find a good woman. What's up, Bryston LaFleur? It's been a while. How you been, bud? I think you're originally from Louisiana, went to Tulane, did a little time out in Bali, if I'm correct. It's been a while. It's been about 3 years since I talked to you, I think. If that's correct. If that's the right Bryston. LaFleur, that's a French name too, right? Did I get that right? That's good memory, huh? Like that angry man, Alex Jones, speaking through intimidation. I mean, like I said, if you look at Andrew Tate makes good points. He makes good points. Whether you agree with him or not is a different thing. Yeah, New Orleans. My mother's actually half French. And my mother actually, first 3 years, I think they lived in Louisiana. So, you're welcome, Bo. Yeah, a lot of people from the outside would be highly judgmental about that. Oh my God, Islam? No. It's like where I live, there's a mosque about, I don't know, 100 yards away. I hear the bells all the time. It's actually a nice sound. Got a lot of friends. Still in Thailand, my friend, but I went back to Cali a little while ago. So I got one more on deck. This was 2 days ago. This is more of an opinion based on this was a comment on a video that I made. And I think it was in regards to cheating. He said, I've done both. Cheating didn't work out for me, honestly, though I suspect there's something to cheating that draws people in. So this is where you create a story that kind of gets you off the hook. Now, I don't know if I would phrase it that there's something to cheating that draws people in. The circumstances of your environments are going to predict if you have more of a chance of cheating. So like everyone keeps talking about hypergamy. Hypergamy is going to happen more times than not if someone's in enough of an environment for hypergamy to flourish, meaning that a woman's going to be around men of high value a lot, then the circumstances go up. But you certainly could be at a workplace where someone just broke up or they're having a bad time in their relationship. It always comes to mind this one client of mine that was cheating, but was happily married to her husband, but her husband had the inability to have intimacy any longer through a medical problem. So that's kind of a sticky situation. And she said, I won't leave my husband. I feel guilty about cheating, but I hadn't had intimacy in 8 years, and she was only 39. So she ended up sleeping with a guy that she worked with. So does that mean cheating drew her in? I think circumstances drew it in. So it's twisted in the sense that when I was cheating, I got more women to be attracted to me, and I was sneaking around. It's just stupid in the sense of risk, and not to mention lying and making the other person hate you in the end. I think now if you're in a mature relationship and you're at a point in your life where you're going to be honest and you're really into someone, if that's something that you see as a difficult thing, staying loyal because you've never done it before, then you have every right to have a conversation with them and say, hey, is it all right? Because I'm worried about this. Like, can we set up some parameters where it's okay? And if they say no, absolutely not, you'll know where they stand and you might be surprised. But you always have to ask yourself this, especially as the guy. Well, if she cheated on me, would I be okay with it? Is it different? Because a lot of guys are like, it's different. It's different. Cheating is a choice. Circumstances increase the temptation, right? Morals and values make it wrong or right in one's eyes. There's plenty of people I know that are completely fine with cheating, and usually their parents or one of their parents cheated. A lot of them. Or they had a mentor or someone along the way in their life that told them it was okay to do. And then they look at it, it's already been stamped for them that it's okay, right? But I will say that cheating is not cut and dry. I do want to hear your story. I do want to know why you did it and break it down with you to realize where it's coming from you, because it's coming from different places for different people. Like I gave that example of that lady right now. Like you could have a little bit of compassion for that, right? She's in a marriage. She was in a marriage for, 15 years. The guy has a medical problem that he no longer can have intimacy. She's totally sexless for 8 years in her 30s. Some guy at work that she's attracted to, she kind of breaks down and ends up hooking up with him, right? Now, it's not right. She basically said, she goes, if my husband asks me directly if I'm cheating, I'll tell him the truth, but otherwise I just can't, and I won't leave him. So is that a circumstance that's something that you can have a little bit of empathy for? And I would guess the husband knows. I would guess that the husband knows and doesn't want to know. Because if he can't do the duty anymore, he would probably still like her by his side. And he even mentioned to her one time, well, do what you got to do. So there is certain circumstances where your story counts. All right, so some people can play the game very well. I can't. I think the right decision is to let the person know if they're cool with it. That's cool, but if they're not, let them go. And, well, I mean, it's not cheating if they're cool with it, right? You set up some parameters. You set up, if you start, here's the thing, when you start agreeing to cheating or you have a partner that's like, I know all guys cheat, don't worry about it. It's totally cool with me. That means they're going to cheat. That's all you have to know about that. That means that they're more likely to do that or they already have. If they're okay with it for you, don't expect them not to do it themselves. All right? And that's what I think guys are like, I don't want it to go both ways. I honestly believe some people gain more confidence by cheating. It's like collecting trophies in a way. Well, I think anytime a guy, especially in his 20s, I'm always going to come back to age because I think it's a big one. Or there's guys in their 30s that just weren't really good with women in their 20s. And they're making up for it. And ego, they start going on a run. They figure out some things. Their game gets better. They hit up the gym. They make more money. They're more attractive. And they get more women. Yeah, they're going to start telling their buddies, hey, man, I hooked up with this chick. It feels good. It feels great. They get some momentum on it. It's like anything else. You get better and better at stuff with success. The more people they play, the more they inflate their ego. I banged this guy's girlfriend, and I thought I was the man. Now, that's low. I mean, was he a friend of yours? Looking back now, I see that I was the beta of the situation. Think about it. You're banging another man's girl to prove you're the man, but she goes back to the guy in the end. You're sharing a woman. Perspective. That wasn't your perspective when you first were doing it, was it? Here's the crazy part. What if you were the guy and your girlfriend was doing that to you? Right? By the way, a woman like that, she might be seeing 3 or 4 of you guys. Sneaking around, the other guy doesn't even know this, but you do. With you knowing this, you realize that you're the one being a rat and having knowledge that you essentially are sharing a woman while the other guy, at least to his benefit, doesn't know. He might know. There's some guys out there that are like, I don't want, like they know all the signals and they don't want to know and they just let it go. So it's not necessarily the case. Essentially what I'm saying is that all these people bragging about being a side dude are really the ones who are weak. Perspective. perspective. In the end, intimacy is outstanding. Good sex is good sex. Okay? But it's still just a moment. You can't take it with you. You can't recreate it. It's just a moment, just like if you were walking on the beach and you had a beautiful sunset and you sat there and you had a moment and you felt like, damn, this is so great. You can't take that with you. And if I was explaining to everyone, oh man, I live on this beautiful beach in Thailand. Oh my God, it's so great. And I'm explaining to you, I'm bragging to you about it. It's like, I can't take that moment to you. Right? And you can't take it with you. You can take your morals and values with you long term. And you can reshape those anytime you want, by the way. Essentially what I'm saying is that all these people bragging about being side dudes are really the ones who are weak. You're labeling yourself as slick, wearing the badge of honor. But at the end of the day, you know you're sharing the same pussy. That to me is disgusting. You can be safe while doing it, but if we're being real here, not a lot of people think the way nowadays. So he ends it with a bit of a generalization. I wouldn't say that, not a lot of people are like that, but bottom line is cheating is a choice. You can reshape your views on it. You can be put in situations that are highly temptatious, if that's a word. But good perspective. I appreciate it. That's why I shared that. Seems like he's been, and here's the thing. You can do bad things and you're allowed to change later on. What changes is your perspective. All right, let me get into the comments before I sign off here. Cheating is a choice. Thanks for the input, Simbina. She and her family are Sunni. This sounds amazing. We share many of the same values, but becoming religious isn't an overnight thing. If I were to become religious in the future, then okay, but dating while figuring out I wanted to become Muslim was not a way to do it. Like Coach said, it was great to meet someone with solid values or morals, just wasn't the right fit. Fair enough. You hit the nail on the head. If your partner doesn't think cheating is a big deal, then there's a good chance it might happen to you. That's all I'm saying. And, when these kind of topics come up, have some good conversations about them. Get clear. Don't have gray areas. You were welcome, agreed, not overnight thing. I would say this, too. If you're in a relationship and you're still fishing in other waters, ask yourself why. Because once you get into a really good relationship, and I've been in a couple that ended up in breakups. I've been in a few, but when they were really good, there were long periods where I would be like, oh, she's attractive, but I wouldn't even think about how would I get that girl or how would I hook up with her, because I was so happy in my relationship. So you just have to ask yourself, was I always just like this, and why was I always like this? And the other thing would be, am I just unhappy? Am I just unhappy in my relationship, actually? You are welcome, agree, not overnight thing. Also, why religion be so poor? Her parents wouldn't let her be with someone that isn't Muslim. That's kind of goes with the territory. Also, dating is haram or not allowed in Islam, or at least how they interpret it. By dating is not allowed, I mean it is all or nothing. That being said, I thought long and hard and had to walk away. Cheating is so immoral, in my opinion. I'm not sure, to be honest. There are at least girls that wanted to hook up with me, told me they are in an open relationship. I don't know if they're lying or not. Cheating is so immoral, in my opinion. I'm not sure, to be honest. Okay, so you just said the same thing. Here's the thing. Your rules, your morals, your values are up to you, man. I mean, this is freedom at its best, right? So when I was back home in California, Northern California, visiting my parents, went out and was actually out with my nephew who's in his early 20s, and had a few drinks, was talking to this guy. He's in his late 30s. He was single, and we were just shooting the shit, talking bullshit and this, that, the other. And he was saying that he had met this woman and at a bar, and he was a contractor, so he had gotten off work and was having a few beers. So he said it was like 4:35 in the late early evening, and this woman approaches him, and she's like all over him, like sitting on his lap, and he's like, "You want a shot?" You know, they're flirting, and he's like, "This is great," you know, fish on. And he said, you know, she's like, they had a few drinks. It was like 30 minutes in. She's like, "You want to get a taxi?" And he's like, "Hell yeah, I'll get a taxi." And he's like, we went and got a hotel room. And he goes, when we were in the taxi walking out, and some guy came to the taxi door, and she went, "No." And he's like, "I thought it was a random guy wanting to get in the taxi and share it." Right. The next day, he says when they're done hooking up, she's like, "Hey, look, I have a husband, but our rule is it's fine that I do this, but he never wants to pay for the taxi. So give me the money for the taxi, and maybe we'll hook up again in the future." And then she goes, "That guy that ran out to the taxi, that was my husband." And he was like blown away. So she didn't tell him. She's saying she has an open relationship. But then they had rules to it. It's like, yeah, if you do hook up, I don't want to pay for your taxi. People from the outside are going, "This is nuts." That's her rules and regulations. Now, I wouldn't want to rely on the fact that the husband's okay with it all the time. Right? Like that kind of a relationship, that kind of spider web, stay the hell away from that. But here's the thing. Some things are too good to be true. He was sitting there. He's like 4:35 in the afternoon. He said, wow, this girl's all over me. She just wants to hook up, go home. How many guys has she done that with? That's just a scenario, a story, secondhand story where you go, Coach brought up a great point. The wandering eye stops when you are with a solid partner. It does. You'll notice it too. You're like, wow, I really am into who I'm with right now because I don't feel those. You obviously are attracted, right? You're always going to look at the menu, but you don't have to order, okay? Just like when you get into a good routine with eating healthy food, you're like, oh, that looks really good, but I know how bad it is for me. I'm not going to do it, right? I have a husband, Sabina. I mean, it happens. It's common, right? I mean, so he thought it was kind of cool the next day, but I thought, you know what you don't realize, too? That's her side of the story. But deep down, the husband could be flaming inside and tired of it. And he might, next time he sees you, might deck you, right? So just getting caught up in that kind of stuff. And that's why, to be honest with you, I don't go to bars very often anyways. But I like to go watch some sports sometimes, watch a basketball game because that's something I've always liked. But to go with the idea of meeting women, it's not the best venue. It's just not. And it seems like the go-to place because that's what you see in movies and everyone's looser and everyone's happier. But to meet like a long-term partner or good relationships, it really isn't. You got to get out into other things. People that complain about when like you're meeting her in the club. Sabina, where I'm from, people get killed for such disrespect. Okay. All right, folks, we got 12 on deck. Thanks for the likes. This has been a good one. Does anyone have any closing questions for me about their relationship, breakup situation, maybe some future topics you want me to touch on? I got a few more minutes left. I don't feel bad over the breakup anymore. Thank you so much for your help, and it meant a lot for me. Well, it means a lot for me for you to say thank you, Bryce. I know that was a tough one on you. I remember. You were really hung up on that one. I remember. If I'm correct, you teach tennis or something, right? Something with tennis coming to my mind. I think one of the things with the cheating thing is how do you find out, right? One of the big ones, I thought it was tennis. Bryce, it's not just you. I always remember people I talk to really well. I haven't talked to Bryce, I think, in 3-4 years, something like that. It's funny, huh, that I was able to remember Tulane, Louisiana, you were in Bali, and the tennis thing. Good for you, man. That's a great. I've had a few clients that are tennis coaches, like at country clubs, and they always end up having an affair with someone. Thank you for all your input, Coach. Keep up the great work. The live streams are amazing. Thanks, Bo G. Yeah, going back to the cheating thing. There's all kinds of trials and tribulations. It's been going on since the beginning of time. I'm surprised by how many people are surprised. But you know what's a big one? I'll probably get into it in another show. Is emotional cheating. But emotional cheating, I used to kind of laugh at it, but I get it better now because texting. Here's a big one. And like I said, I'll go into this in maybe another live stream. Texting records everything. So a lot of people don't erase all their texts, and the amount of people that get into their partner's phone when they're suspicious and are able to search their emails or their text, the hardest part about that is they'll reread the text again and again. Like someone's suspicious of you cheating, or you break down to them and you're like, yeah, I cheated. But if they have a picture or they have a dirty message, that's tough. That's tough. Because it just replays and replays. It replays. It's like there's no running away from the evidence is too strong. All right, folks, if you have a story you want to send in, go to rightmac.com, or if you want to book a live coaching session, even if you don't have a breakup problem or you want to just talk to me about something, I'm here for you. I've been doing this for a while. Pretty good at what I do. All the best. It's curtains.